Hello and welcome to episode 3 of the Nightingale Dementia Consultants Caregiver Support Group briefings. This week's episode is Minding the Brain. A primary cause of stress as a caregiver is making medical decisions for our loved one. No cure for Alzheimer's exists. Most therapies mute symptoms or slow the decline. Unfortunately, we know that emotional shocks overwhelm those benefits. In this presentation, we will look at the brain as a system. The goal is to empower you to better understand the cost and benefits of drug therapies and to better appreciate the value of investing in social harmony. The point of having a brain is that it helps us survive. For people, that benefit is not realized for a long time. We are born with a head that is too big and start life needing someone to take care of us. Even after we can get up and walk around, we are exposed to sources of energy that can do us serious harm very rapidly. To prevent disaster, parents must control a child's choices. Before we can make our own choices, the brain must learn to interpret the information from our senses. Our senses describe both our environment and the way we feel. Over time, we learn to connect those two things. There are confusions along the way. A baby sees that when a cup appears on the table, it does not fall to the floor. The table seems to be a magical thing that prevents falling. We have all gone through a week of picking up fallen forks and cups while our baby figures out how that works. We know that just connecting the two is not enough. The object needs to have most of its weight on the table. Our baby, however, must learn that practically. It is why they look so surprised when the cup falls and proud when it doesn't. As we figure out how things work together, we realize that certain things, like mommy, come with good feelings. Mommy with a pot on her head is a frightening confusion to us. This motivates us to figure out how to prevent that experience, which leads us into a concern about relationships. In children, the brain does this all together in real time. As we mature, the brain divides into social and physical realms, the conscious and subconscious, and we find it more difficult to match our relationships with our feelings. We all know that the brain is crazy complicated, but this slide holds the basics. Remember, it all starts with what things happen together. Neurons and myelin work together to sort that out. Neurons guide information in from our senses and feelings, and myelin fine-tunes the arrival so that they can trigger the neuron that signals. Mommy lost her face, no bueno. The neurons have little gaps between them. When the signal arrives at a gap, a neurotransmitter is released. When enough is received on the other side, the signal begins to travel up the next neuron. Some of the neurotransmitter is absorbed, but some floats around in the brain. To prevent interference, different parts of the brain use different neurotransmitters. All of this takes energy. When we use a part of our brain, just as with our muscles, blood flow increases to allow it to operate longer. Of course, that can starve other parts of the brain of energy. And all of this, most drugs only affect the neurotransmitters. That ends up changing the neuron connections, myelin placement, and blood flow. When we stop taking the drug, our brain must relearn. That is why the drugs can be addicting. We feel and act badly when we stop taking them. To learn rapidly, the brain recycles materials that are no longer in use. To maintain skills, then, we need to keep on using them. This is why retirement can be hard. As well as being more adaptable than any other part of the body, the brain is also the most sensitive. In this slide, we cover problems that contribute to cognitive decline. A special barrier covers the blood vessels in the brain to block harmful chemicals. That barrier is damaged by toxins and swelling. Nicotine and alcohol are bad actors. Once the barrier is damaged, chemicals needed by other parts of the body leak in, damaging the brain. The brain uses up almost 1/3 of our energy. When our blood sugar falls, it panics. Unfortunately, if we load up on sugar, the body tries to store it as fat, which causes another drop in blood sugar. And so we go for another donut, and on until we have diabetes. We need proper nutrition to keep our blood sugars stable. And natural foodstuffs are also needed by the bacteria in our gut that make neurotransmitters. Sleep is essential to brain health. Our brain flushes out waste chemicals during our deepest sleep. Lightening our sleep, including by taking sleep aids, blocks that deep sleep, allowing those wastes to build up. Deep sleep is also when permanent change occurs in the brain. If we are to continue learning, we need to sleep soundly. What is amazing about the brain is that from simple elements, we develop rich capabilities. This slide organizes those capabilities as choices that we have in every situation. Some of these choices are obviously exclusive. Do and imagine both involve a picture of reality, and we can only engage one picture at a time. Others are more subtle. The fireman has been trained to respond skillfully in circumstances where most people would be better served by their reaction to run away. In studying brain activity, scientists find that as concerns these 5 factors, most of us tend to lean one way or the other. When under stress, we rely upon that strength. In families, we count on our partner to provide balance. Cognitive decline upsets that balance. One answer to that upset is to learn. We can develop new perspectives and skills. Our increased flexibility and strength becomes a permanent part of us. Learning is one of the most demanding investments made by the body. That construction activity going on in the brain creates waste that can only be cleared with deep, restful sleep. Being a successful caregiver requires taking good care of ourselves. Obviously, the heart of caregiving is meeting the needs of our loved one. This presentation asks us to embrace the personal growth that comes with that commitment. The brain is designed to change. As we'll learn later, that happens most rapidly when we look at change as a gift. Thank you for listening, and I hope to see you again soon.